The desert did not hate her. It did not care enough to hate. It simply existed, a vast, silent machinery of wind, heat, and time. Grinding everything soft into dust and everything rigid into memory, twin suns hovered low on the horizon of Calethnin, their dying orange light spilling across dunes the color of old bone. Each grain of sand had been shaped by 1,000,000 years of storms, polished smooth by indifference. The air shimmered with heat distortion, bending the world into a wavering illusion, as if reality itself were tired of holding its shape. And in the middle of that endless nothing, she lay small, still abandoned. The girl's body was half buried, where the wind had pushed sand against her like a slow, suffocating tide. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. One leg was twisted wrong, encased in a metallic brace fused directly into alien flesh. The brace hummed faintly, its power cell long past stable output. Emitting a dying whine that only the desert seemed to hear, her skin bore the faint bioluminescent veins of her species, once a mark of nobility, but now dulled, flickering weakly like a failing star. Dust clung to her ceremonial robes, once white and iridescent, now stained brown and torn at the hem. She was supposed to be dead already. That had been the plan. Baron Cathoral, of the 9th Dominion, had watched from the shadow of his skimmer as the wind swallowed his daughter. He had not turned away in anger. He had not wept. He had simply calculated. A disabled heir was a liability in a court that devoured weakness. A daughter who could not walk unassisted, whose neural lattice misfired under stress, whose body required constant calibration. She was not cruelly abandoned. She was discarded. The skimmer had lifted, its engines erasing the last evidence that she had ever been loved, and the desert reclaimed the silence. Miles away, though, on Calethnin, distance was a meaningless concept. A human knelt beside a dying rover. Elias. Ow. Rook pressed his forehead against the scorched hole and exhaled slowly. The sound lost beneath the whisper of wind across stone. His breath fogged the inside of his helmet for a moment before the suit's recycler cleared it away. Of course, he muttered. Of course, this is how it ends. The rover's power core had ruptured during the storm the night before. Not violently, no satisfying explosion, but with a soft, anticlimactic failure that left him stranded between coordinates and hope. The navigation array was dead. The comms mast snapped. Even the emergency beacon refused to initialize. Keleth 9 was supposed to be a survey job. 6 months mapping mineral veins for a corporate consortium that would never remember his name. 6 months of solitude, hazard pay, the comforting lie that isolation was easier than grief. Now the planet had decided to keep. Himalayas sat back on his heels and stared out across the desert. The dunes rose and fell like the ribs of a sleeping god. Somewhere beneath them were the bones of civilizations that had thought themselves permanent. He felt old out here. Not in years, he was only 42, but in the way solitude stretches time, pulling memories closer than they should be. His joints ached. His hands shook when he held them still. The silence pressed against his skull until he could hear his own heartbeat echoing too loudly. He checked his suit. Diagnostics. Water, 63%. Oxygen, 71%. Power, declining. He could walk. That was the problem. Walking meant choosing a direction, without knowing whether it led to salvation or a longer death. Elias stood, dusting sand from his gloves. A sound. Not wind, not the low groan of shifting dunes. A signal at first. It was barely perceptible, a rhythmic distortion in the electromagnetic static washing over his suit's sensors. A pattern where there should have been none. Elias frowned and tapped the side of his helmet, pulling up the diagnostic overlay. "There you are," he whispered. The signal pulsed irregularly, weak and fragmented, like a heartbeat heard through walls. Not human. Not machine. Something hybrid biotech, maybe. Or alien noble tech. The Dominion Elias swallowed. He had avoided them deliberately. The 9th Dominion did not welcome humans. They tolerated them when useful and erased them when inconvenient. Still, a signal meant something alive, and alive meant purpose. He oriented himself toward the source, shouldered his pack, and began to walk. The journey was slow. Keleth 9 punished haste. Each step sank into sand that shifted treacherously, hiding rock beneath, like a trap, waiting for tired ankles. The heat climbed steadily as the suns rose higher, baking the air until Elias felt like he was breathing through cloth soaked in fire. His suit's cooling system struggled to keep up as he walked. Memories crept, in uninvited guests in a mind starved for distraction. Earth a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and inevitability. A woman's hand, thin and trembling, squeezing his as if afraid he might vanish. A promise he hadn't known how to keep. "You'll find something out there," she'd said. Something worth bringing back. He had left before she died. He told himself it. Wasn't running. The desert did not care what he told himself. After 3 hours, the signal grew stronger. After 4, he saw her at first. Elias thought it was debris, another piece of Dominion arrogance scattered across a world they didn't understand. Then the shape shifted slightly, and he saw the faint glow beneath the dust. He broke into a run, boots sliding as he closed the distance. Oh, hell. He breathed. The girl lay where she had fallen, eyes half-lidded, chest barely moving. Her brace sparked intermittently, warning alarm whining like an injured animal. Elias dropped to his knees beside her. She was alien, undeniably so, but the fragility of her form transcended species. Her face was sharp-boned and elegant, framed by crest-like structures along her temples. Dried tears had carved pale tracks through the dust on her cheeks. "She's a kid," he whispered. His suit translator struggled as it scanned her vitals, struggling to map alien biology onto human expectations. Neural instability, muscular atrophy, systemic dehydration. Someone had left her here to die. Elias clenched his fists. Carefully, he activated his emergency medkit, adapting its settings on the fly. He injected fluids, stabilized the brace's power flow, and wrapped her in thermal foil to protect her. From the temperature swings, her eyes fluttered open. They were the color of distant nebulae. She looked at him and flinched. A weak sound escaped her throat. Half growl, half plea. Her hand twitched, fingers curling as if searching for something no longer there. Elias raised his hand slowly. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm not here to hurt you," the translator hummed, struggling, then projected his words into her auditory spectrum. Her gaze sharpened not with fear, but confusion. "You are not Dominion," she said, voice thin and trembling. "No," Elias replied. "I'm human." Silence stretched between them. Then, with an effort that clearly cost her dearly, she asked, "Why? Are you still here?" Elias hesitated. "Because someone once asked me the same thing," he thought. "Because I heard you," he said instead. "And because leaving you would be wrong." Her eyes closed, and a single bioluminescent tear slipped free as the suns dipped and shadows stretched long across the dunes. Elias made a decision that would fracture the rest of his life into before and after. He could not carry her far. He could not signal for help, but the signal she emitted, it wasn't random. It was a key. Somewhere beneath the desert, something ancient waited, something intact, something abandoned by a galaxy that had moved on without it. And in the arms of a human who had already lost everything, an alien girl, cast aside as broken, still held the power to open it.